Music Conference 2024. If you're standing in the auditorium, please take your seats. If you are downstairs and you're making your way upstairs, please do so now. Have a seat, please. Couple of things we have coming up. We have this panel, Sync Scoring et al., Caribbean Music and Film. We're also going to be premiering the feature film. I've told you a couple of times before, what the feature film name? See it there? Bad Like Brooklyn Dance Hall. Very good. So, are you ready for the next panel? All right, only the 3 people that ready can stay. Are you ready for the next panel? Woo! All right, so first up, Seretse Small, musician, composer, educator, and researcher. His name is Seretse Small. Round of applause. All right. Last seat right here, Seretse. And then Pine and Ginger, tessellated himself, recording artiste. Where are you, sir? Round of applause. Carlene Samuels, creative source, and she's also the host. Lexi Chow, out of my own parish of Manchester. From the Coda Network. A lot of green on the scene today. Clarissa Reformina, radio. One of the tired already? Applause now. Thank you very much. Over to you, Carlene.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for being here. Can we have a chair for the Island Music Conference first? Okay, so this is a very important panel. As you know, it's the Island Music Conference, and we're very, very happy that we've included film this year. We did last year as well, and the whole idea going forward is to have the film element at the closer to the end of the festival. Because, of course, music is very important, and we know music is very important, but we get in a little film and also images. We know how important images are for everything we're doing. I know we have artists out there, we have teams, we have artist representatives, and lots of different people who want to know about this topic. And we really want to have a sense of leaving you with information that is useful and giving you new information that you may not even know. So, we are speaking about sync and scoring for Caribbean music and film. And really and truly, think of any film you like and think of it without music. Burner. It would be not very good, right? So it's very important that we think about music in different spaces. We know for artists, a lot of times it's about the performance. That's very important. It's about the streams, it's about the music, but we really want to talk about other ways that artists and creatives can know about how their music can be used. So, why is a film score even important? I mean, it actually makes the movie better. Why is the sync important? It can actually break your song. So, with some of those ideas in mind, if you kind of just put your mind there and you think, what are we talking about? We're going to talk to all the panelists, and they are very informed in different areas, and we're going to kind of get into it, right? So a film score really is the original music that accompanies a film. Pretty much very straightforward. In some cases, it's by a film composer, and it's a part of the whole production process. It's part of the whole post-production process. But when you talk about sync and synchronization of your music, actually, Wycliffe went into that earlier this week, if you were here, when he was presenting as well. That's the process where the song is combined with the moving images. So we're talking about TV and video games and advertisements and trailers and all of that kind of stuff. It's not just quote unquote movies, for example, but we're going to talk a little bit about that. So we have 4 very interesting panelists here, and they're going to kind of give us all this information we need and really leave you with something that you can use. So just in terms of just quick introductions for everybody, Tess here is a Grammy and Emmy Award nominated artist and producer. Of course, he's the Mr. Pine and Ginger. We know about that. And he's fusing, world genres. He's really working with the roots and fusing music, and we all love his music. Saret Seher as well, to my left, is a musician and composer, and he's been an educator for with over 35 years experience in music. We have here Lexi, and Lexi is a digital streaming executive. She founded Caribbean on Demand, all in one place, which is Coda, and we encourage you to get that app and really get into it. She'll talk a little bit about it as well. And then we have Clarissa, who is the SVP of, we all hear the name Issa Rae and we get excited, right? She works with Issa Rae's company called Audio Everywhere, and she'll talk a little bit about that too. So we're gonna start off basically talking with Tess, because he is in the space. He's really in it. He's the artist, he's done things, and he knows way more than maybe many people here, because he's in it. He's really working hard to make it happen as an independent artist. And we're gonna talk to him first and kind of hear a little bit about sync and scoring, and sync in your case.
For sure. Thank you for the introduction. So, in addition to what was said already, in terms of sync, I have a bit of experience as an artist and a producer. For some people may know or may not know, but a couple of years ago, I had a really big sync with Apple for one of their AirPods advertisement. They did a short film called Bounce that I scored, created an original song for. I've also had experience syncing songs with various Netflix shows, several drink brands, and most recently, a car commercial. So, as an artist, there are different ways that I like to think about songs, and different ways I've been approached as well, right? So the 3 main ways are sync in terms of syncing a whole completely original song, which is kind of the easiest and the best. Somebody reaches out and says, hey, we'd like to use this song for a commercial, we'd like to use it in a film, and you just license the song. There's adapting a song to a score, like in the case of what happened with the Apple advertisement, which we'll play in a second for them. And the third is creating completely original music, whether it be just production or vocals and production for a specific, whether it be advertisement or score. So let's play this clip real quick so you guys can get an idea of how this looks, and then I'll talk a little bit more.
Perfect.
Thank you. So, as you see in that commercial, there was an original song existing, right? And so I'll tell you the story behind this sync. And this is my first major sync. I had gotten reached out to by a marketing agency. And they said they wanted to have a talk with me about doing some work together, but I had to sign an NDA before we could have a call. So, from I heard that, I knew, there was probably some money involved, and I got excited. On the call, I learned, the concept, what it would be about, and basically some vibes that they had in mind. They had a couple of my songs in mind. They said, hey, these could fit an energy. This is the script. What do you think you can create? So as you see in that ad, there's a lot of very detailed elements, a little bit of piano run, a little bit of trumpet solo that was basically created and adapted from the original song to add more cinematic elements to basically help with the storytelling of the song, right? And that's one form of, type of request. Right before I hand off to somebody else to keep the conversation going, I'll just answer the question that a lot of young artists might be asking, or young managers. Why sync? What's the point of sync? Yes, it's great to have something in a commercial, but I can just, do dub plates, I can play dances, I really want my song streaming, that's what's gonna break me as an artist. But you have to understand that sync is just another avenue to get your music out there, right? So this commercial was played for millions of people and raised the streams of my song immensely without me having to pay. I actually got paid for my song to be promoted, right? And you're reaching audiences that you wouldn't reach in other ways, right? And then also the income that you get from sync is consistent, and it just allows freedom, Maybe there's a stage show that you are getting a low price for, and you don't really want to do it, but you might have to do it to pay the rent. If you're having other forms of income, then you can make decisions that are actually better for your career in the long term, instead of having to run after every little money that someone throws at you. So.
Yes, good one. Thanks, Tess, for that. In addition to that, of course, Tess has this big opportunity, but if his clearances and his paperwork for these songs that he makes aren't in place, it's going to be problematic. So even though we're not going to go into detail about clearances on this panel, we do want you to know that all the panels earlier this week that talked about having your paperwork and having, knowing who is involved in your songwriting, so that when you get an opportunity like this, immediately you can sign on. You're not trying to find John in Timbuktu to say, oh, John, can we do this? So please, it's very important. We're not talking about clearances here, but it's very important to have your clearances and publishing and things in place to grab these opportunities. So we're going to move to Lexi a little bit, who is going to talk about basically streaming, network streaming, and cultural authenticity, and how that goes into what you do and what we're generally talking about.
Thank you so much. And thank you for it's so bright in here, and you guys are so beautiful. I would look at you guys, but I'm gonna get blinded. So basically, I have a streaming network. It's called Coda Caribbean On Demand, all in one place, anytime, anywhere. You can watch Caribbean curated content. So basically, the reason why it's so important to have scoring, especially in film, and especially with me, if your film is not going to theatrical release, it's gonna go on VOD, which stands for Video On Demand. And the three things that I'm looking for as a CEO and our film team, we're looking for quality, the story, and we're also looking for production. And within that quality and production, I'm looking for the music. How does it relate? Is this evoking an emotion that I'm looking for? Big part of storytelling is evocation of feeling and thought. It's just not about the story, it's about the music that goes behind it. The Caribbean music has so many genres. You have reggae, dancehall, soca, compa for our Haitians, and zouk, and there's so many other avenues. Our music is vibrant, it's rhythmic, and I just want everybody to close their eyes for a second. Imagine that you're in Flatbush Avenue, Church Avenue, or Utica, and think about the sounds on that street. It's Caribbean. So when you're a filmmaker and you're putting together a story outside of the Caribbean, you want to resonate with the audience and make sure that you have every block in Brooklyn is a different sound. You go down, you hear maybe a Stone Love CD, then you hear some roots and culture, you might hear some soca music at the Trini Roti shop. So you have all of these flavors and all these sounds. You have to put that into your music as well. And it's also about storytelling, building up an arc. It's also allowing the viewer to unfold the story with you, and that's all done through music. Sorry. Surreti. Oh, we're gonna go into scoring, but just why it's so important to me now, back to streaming, I'll refuse your film if the production isn't good and if the music isn't good and you're not queuing it up at each scene to make me feel like I'm part of the story. It's gonna get rejected. So there's many other platforms out there. There's Netflix, there's Tubi, Peacock, Hulu, and so forth. There's so many platforms out there. There's actual real people that are going through your film and they're listening to it. They're looking for that story. They're looking for that moment that they resonate with. And just like Tess said, you know, a lot of these, the music that you're putting into the film can either make you or break your record.
Yes, thanks for that. Yes. So basically, there are lots of opportunities for Caribbean music, Caribbean sound, and in all the genres that exist, basically. And we need to be tapping more into that and understanding the process that goes into how stories unfold to tell our stories
Yes.
properly.
And just to piggyback off of that, for filmmakers outside of the Caribbean, I encourage you to work with composers or producers that understand the diaspora, that understand those certain nuances about the Caribbean. For instance, one of my favorite movies is Yardie, that was directed by Idris Elba, and even the Bob Marley One Love movie, that was well produced. As far as the music and composure, everything else, the storyline, they sequenced it correctly, and that's what you want to hear. It's the authenticity.
Yes, absolutely. And to go on that, it really elevates the experience totally and really brings us into the world. When, of course, for us sometimes it's music that we recognize as well. So that's always interesting. We're going to talk to Seretse a little bit because he is now on the other side as the composer of some of this music, and there's definitely challenges and opportunities and things. So he's going to talk a little bit about that. But it's going to be interesting with him because he's actually starting from scratch.
Yeah, I want to talk a bit about the process. When I am approached for a film, I often ask the director or the writer to give me the script. And then I will start to think about metaphors or genres or sounds that speak to me. And I'll have that conversation with the director. Then we do a spotting session. A spotting session is to go through the entire film and to mark off the points at which music is supposed to be. And then we will discuss that and negotiate that. And then I will create a spreadsheet with each cue and the length of each cue, which then allows me, I charge them a spotting fee, and I also charge them a rate for the amount of music that I'm going to be writing based on the cues. And then they can make a decision about the budget, if they want to go ahead, or yes or no. Then it becomes kind of exciting because you go through cue by cue. And normally after reading the script, I have a great sense of how to approach the film, especially having conversations about the themes and the importance of the film and what they want to achieve. But then I actually have to sketch those compositions out. So I sketch some ideas for each cue, and then I get feedback from the directors about, or the writers or the producers about the cue, whether they like it, yes or no. Do they want it to be very classical, or they want it to be very cultural? I was doing a film once which had some Jamaican and West African superheroes in it. It was very cool. And I got a chance to do Akan. I choose an Akan rhythm and to create this piece of music. And then I fuse it with Steppers reggae, right, with a, that kind of vibe. And I noticed that when I start to push a very Afrocentric approach, sometimes I get some pushback because they're thinking, I want this to be placed in Disney. I want this on Netflix, right? So I have to kind of mediate sometimes between cultural authenticity and the cinematic language. There is a cinematic music language. It was established by Wagner many, many, many years ago, and it's become the standard of how we write music. So there, on one level, you have this musical vocabulary that you need to have, which is cinematic. But at the same time, you want to tell the story that the directors want to say that's in the script, and also that is related to the culture and the narrative. So sometimes I get in a bit of a tug of war with my collaborators about authenticity. I think there's a lot of opportunity for this. The weaknesses that I've noticed is that directors and writers and producers don't often know how to plan for music, how to budget it from a time point of view. I also noticed that the way we do short films here, Propeller and so on, there is no budget for music. So I can't even say what I have been offered or been given for these projects. Um, it's a tremendous opportunity for us right now. I am one of 2 or 3 persons in Jamaica who actually do film scoring at a certain level. It does require some classical or jazz or theoretical foundations, but it's not necessary. If you have a heart for looking at a scene and thinking about what's happening in it and connecting to the emotion of it, you can make some really compelling scores. If you are also open to having a lot of dialogue and collaborating and not putting your ego as a priority and willing to put the project first, then there's lots of opportunities in film in the Caribbean, I think.
Perfect, yes. I must agree, and being on the film side and on the music side, I do agree that there's sometimes not much budget in short films in Jamaica for music, but of course we know it's very important because what you're talking about is music throughout the film, which really gets our emotion. If somebody looks a certain way or turns a certain way and it just doesn't have that pause, that music, you don't feel it as much. And we know, I mean, everybody knows how music is important to us. The music play on a Sunday, the music play when you're getting ready, music is such a part of our lives, and it really enhances all the visuals, obviously. So, yeah, we want to now talk to Clarissa about some of the ways in which we get music into films, some of the music supervision and, you know, music, the business of what you may or may not know about the business side and careers in music, library supervision, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so I'm going to talk a little bit about opportunity, right? You know, I think the other panelists have given some great points and also experiences of getting synced in a commercial, being on, having music in TV and film, or at least being provided the content for it. And from a TV and film side, there's also other opportunities where your music can actually be synced into the show. And we've seen this, you know, time and time again, where an artist gets a bump from being synced really well in content, whether that's a film, whether that's TV, and that is able to elevate artists in a different way. Another way that people don't always think about is not necessarily composition for TV and film, but all of the music that's on commercials that may not have lyrics. There's a lot of places that have music libraries that artists can get paid for to compose music with lyrics or without lyrics that get placed in different scenes in TV and film or even in commercials. And there's also trailer work, which is a different sort of beast where they're actually pushing the trailers of movies, which is a separate entity as TV and film, even though you would think it would be the same. The last one that is kind of coming up significantly is gaming. Gaming is also another opportunity for music to be placed. And that's things that people don't necessarily think through. So there is the sync part of it, there's the music library part of it, and also from a career standpoint, you can be the artist and you can be on the creative side of the business, but there are people that are placing this music in. And whether you're a music supervisor, choosing the song, telling the story, creating the story element to it, even though you're not making the music, you are still being creative in placing the music. And also being an executive as a music library, you're choosing music and you're also placing it in more commercial work or in gaming work. So just various ways of thinking about how can I have a career in music, or how can I place my music in different areas? Music is an essential part, as everyone said, in storytelling. So you could obviously see how impactful Tessa's work was on a commercial, but you know, you can also see that in short film content and games.
Great, yes. To follow up on the games, we definitely know a lot of the artists and the people who play GTA. We have the reggae station, the dancehall station, and a lot of those games definitely have showed a lot of love to Caribbean music. So I wanted to just talk, whoever could take it, about like a sync agent. Like, we've talked to all four of you, and we definitely have a sense of all different areas of the subject. But what about a sync agent? How do you actually get your music, if it already exists, into the project? Because we understand, of course, if you're a musician, you can work as Saritza does. That's a different thing. But music that already exists, how do we get that into different places?
Tess, do you want to speak about independent and I can speak on the other end?
For sure. So I speak to the independent end of it as the artist. I think a lot of people believe that you need to have a big label, a big publisher, or even an agent to get your music placed on these various films, or commercials or games. But truthfully, like in my case, I would say maybe 80% of the sync that I've gotten has just been direct communication between me and the music supervisor or creative director of the project. So I think the bigger thing to think about is, one, creating music that is good enough to be in, and you need people who are going to be objective with you about your music, because once the music is in a solid place, it can go anywhere. However, I think a lot of people I see trying to jump the gun and figure out how they're going to make money off of music without figuring out how to make the music first, right? And once you've done that, we have so many options when it comes to communication, right? I would say if you can create a brand of music, and also as an artist, because you have to realize that when a brand is now connecting with you to use your music in a commercial or use it in a film, you're also in a sense becoming a brand ambassador for them. So if you're not representing things that they want their brand to be associated with, it's going to be even harder, especially if you don't have an agent or a publisher. But if you do that, you can reach out to people. You can find out who the music supervisors are. You can create relationships with people. There's also sync libraries that you can reach out to, or even find sync agents and pitch your music to them. But I think it's not something that you need to wait for. If you feel like your music is at a stage and you feel like you can see it in films or commercials or shows or gaming, because a lot of people might not know, but the gaming market is actually bigger than the movie market. Like, it makes way more money every year. There's a whole heap of potential for exposure. Just to look for the opportunities, and then once you have the opportunity and you have a good working relationship with someone, you do a project one time, they're going to be happy to call you up the second time because they know it's not a headache, and they know it's okay, cool, we can trust Tess for this. Yeah, let's give him this next project. And then from then, word of mouth spreads, and next thing you know, you have a whole heap of syncs on your hand.
Yeah, and to add on to that, that working relationship and that trust, once you get a great opportunity, people are going to continue to want to work with you. I think from your side of it, really making sure you spread your network and you try to meet as many people as possible, because music supervisors are the gatekeepers in that space. You can obviously get a sync agent to try to sync and have placements for you. And also, if you are signed to a publisher, they also try to source a lot of that, because music supervisors do send briefs out. There are two different types, as Tess mentioned. You can get a custom, which is you're creating the song from scratch, and that was something that he did for the Apple commercial. But you can also just get your song synced, which is something separate. When you do customs, most customs are commercial work. They're commercial work or trailers. There's also obviously custom songs, and they're usually the big, high-level songs for films. But there are a lot of placements within shows that you have your songs go on directly, and publishers can help provide that if you do have a publisher. But, if anyone has the question of like, how do I start? How about if I don't know any music supervisors? How about if I don't have any of these connections yet? For me, it's getting scrappy, right? You know, I think the marketplace has changed. Content is king. And what is content? There's short form content, there's different creators, there's influencers, and I think, you know, building your network with content creators or even local filmmakers is a start too. So I think if anyone is interested in the sync space or the composition space, it's just starting and building that craft because it is a little bit of a different mindset than just creating a song for the radio or for streaming services.
That's great. That's
Add
great.
one thing to that too.
Uh-huh.
As you said about building and creating content, you never know who's watching, you never know who's listening, right? The song that got the attention of Apple for me was a random song on SoundCloud that had like 5,000 streams. But one of those 5,000 was the creative director of that project, you know? So never discount just putting the music out there and pushing it with whatever resources you have, because over time it will build, especially in the space of the internet where you can connect with anyone and you just never know.
Yes, that's great. And key to that, and I think what you're saying is just keep doing what you're doing. Do the music. I think from what Tess is saying, building brand-friendly music is one thing, but just build the music, do it. Because sometimes you'll be in spaces like this and you're looking for connections and who knows who, but you actually don't have a product, you don't have anything actually ready to go. So that's obviously very, very important. So make music, keep making music,
That's
keep
the
making
end of the
music. And Lexi talked about cultural authenticity, and I wanted you to go a little bit more into that and also talk a little bit about Coda, if you would.
Yes. So for me, cultural authenticity is just showing up. It's our voice. In the past couple of years, I would say that the Caribbean market is underrepresented. I worked in the film industry for many years. I always felt that I was just a little tiny voice in a room. I always felt I was the token Caribbean girl in every room that I was at. And you know, when I would voice my opinion on our market, we were considered the niche market, but we are the market. And I say this in every speech, any panel. Caribbean, we are the market, we are the trendsetters. A lot of our music has been sampled. Sister Nancy, What a Bam Bam, just now she got recognition, just now she's getting her royalties. And that's a problem. And I would say that we have to continue showing up. Now filmmakers are starting to see the value, just like they never saw the value in the African American dollar until Black Panther put out their movie. African Americans in the Black diaspora, they showed up, they showed out. Top selling weekend for Black Panther. So when the Bob Marley movie came out, I would say that we came out in drones because we wanted to support, and that's the authenticity that we're looking for. It's important that we continue, like I said, continue showing up and representing in these films, whether it be from production standpoint, just even little things as bringing in your makeup artist and your stylist and bringing in and teaching and training people in the community, give them jobs. You know, and that's a cultural authenticity that I'm looking for. Coda Network, I built this 2 years ago. I left the film industry because I was just tired of being a tiny voice. Our films get overlooked. There's so many great filmmakers here in the Caribbean, and especially in Jamaica, and Trinidad, and Haiti. I would say that Trinidad is at the top of their game with film. And I'm not just saying that, but they're really, really structured. They're organized. They have a community pool. And I see that Jamaica is doing the same thing as well. I'm very proud of my country. You know, that there's a fund coming out for filmmakers. I implore everybody to go ahead and look that up and apply for it if you're in that space. And Coda Network, what we do is we distribute and we also create our own original content for the diaspora. You know, there's music videos, there's documentaries, there's movies, there's short film. And I don't shun anybody with their short films as long as the production is good. I'm looking for quality production. You know, you take so much time to tell your story. Set your budget and have some budget money for audio, for composing, yes, because you spend all this time and it just doesn't translate. And there's, you know, a lot of short filmmakers here in Jamaica that are absolutely wonderful, but the audio quality is really not that great. And then it gets rejected on CODA. You know, we want CODA to be a place for filmmakers to have a home, to, you know, represent the Caribbean diaspora and basically tell our stories in our own voices, not Miss Cleo voice, but our voice.
Yes, that's absolutely important, and I can speak to that a little bit as well, just being in the production space, that audio is so important. It's like we really have to stress that, and we stress that a lot on set all the time, because that's kind of been a weak point for us sometimes. Even when people come to shoot here, sometimes they kind of want to bring their audio person, or they're like not sure about the audio, they know the visuals will look good and stuff. So we've really been working on that, and I think that's absolutely important.
And I do have a note to say. I don't want to offend anybody, but when you're making a film, you just can't call your friend who is a sound man and
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
hey, I
Absolutely.
want you to score my film. No, in
No, it's a
Augusta.
lot. No,
You have to
absolutely.
have a trained composer.
Yes, yes. And
I'm just going to add a
I
little
wanna,
bit to it too. So also for everybody in regards to where and when does this money come from? For music, a majority of the money comes from post-production. So it's already when all of the filming is done. So if they don't stay within the budget, they're already removing funding from the post-production, which is where most of the music money comes from in TV and film.
Absolutely. And I just want to put a pin here about, please everyone stay. We're going to have, after this panel, 2 short films. They're 2 Jamaican short films, Sugar Cake and Fever Dream. And then we're going to have the Big Bad documentary, which Shaggy and Jay Will are involved in. So please stay after with us for that. But I want to talk a little bit about, we're talking about the audio and that kind of thing. Siretsi, can you speak a little bit about training? Are there any opportunities, or how can you get involved? Is there training available? If there's not available, what are some of the steps that somebody who's interested could take?
There's not a lot of training available per se in film scoring. However, if you have, let's say you're a pianist, and you get a good teacher who is knowledgeable either in harmony or jazz, that can be a good start in getting your foundation set. You want to aim for, like, if you want to use a UK system, you want to aim for like a grade 6, grade 7 level of piano, and maybe what we call a grade 6, grade 7, grade 8 theory. Grade 7, grade 8 actually gives you assignments in scoring, right? You get exercises in creating, music for certain set scenes. There are things you can do online. There are a lot of, Berkeley has a very good program that can be done online. In the meantime, I think what we need to look for is really just people coming together as a community. Because what is composition if not just a set of problems? Right? It's a series of problems that you have to solve. And sometimes there may be a problem that may be beyond you. So for example, let's say I get a scene and I'm asked to do something from the Delta Blues because of the character or because of something in the script. I may not be knowledgeable on the Delta Blues, so that might be a phone call to somebody and say, I'm gonna come over and we're gonna explore some blues, right? And then you get into that and you solve that problem. Harmony is a must, like 3-part harmony, drop 2s, drop 3s, voice leading, and then listening to scores. Just simply sitting down. I was actually watching, what was it, Wonder Woman? 1984, and I was listening to the score, just listening to the strings and listening to how they did the horns and, the role of the French horn and that kind of, you got to do that kind of work. One of the challenges that we have in Jamaica is that a lot of our music spaces, and I'm going to say something that might sound a bit strange, so just stay with me. A lot of our music spaces are not music spaces. They are ritual spaces. They are spaces for trance, right, where we disconnect the brain. If you want to compose, you're going to have to come out of that ritual trance vibe and start doing more analysis and start hearing and making connections. And so we need more spaces where we are doing music, but we are able to connect it to an idea and do some listening rather than the rail or the forward or you know what I mean? If you want to develop the composition side. On a note, I find that fascinating. When I watched the One Love movie, I thought it interesting that from a filmmaking point of view, I saw some elements of ritual and trance through trauma, which a Western mind might not pick up. You know what I mean? I saw some reviews where they're like, no, this is not, it's not linear, it's not this, but I could recognize certain Nyabingi, certain elements, certain circular elements. And so that's a fascinating thing. And when we talk about training, it's not training in music alone, but it's in training in understanding and exploring what the music and the culture means to us and how we communicate that to the world. And that's another conversation that I'm really yearning to see. I feel like I haven't answered the question.
I know.
You know, kind of way, I feel like I talk, and I don't really answer the question.
There's not much training available.
There's not much training available.
There's not much training available. But one thing that we've tapped into, I think, is relationships. Right. There has to be some kind of relationships in the space to get involved in that kind of thing if you have that interest in the first place. So in terms of talking about relationships and how to kind of get those relationships going, maybe everybody can just kind of give an idea of what they think about that.
I would say, I always tell people, your net worth is your network. Don't burn your bridges, and if you do, may they light the way ahead. But your network is your net worth.
For me, you have to learn the game to play it. And I think for me, that's one, increasing your network. But two, if you do not have a network yet, study it. Learn everything that is happening. You can read a lot about composition. You can do regular training, 6th to 8th level of composition. I think it's really just learning about what you're interested in and understanding the business side as well, because that's important to actually have a career in it.
I would say I agree 100%. And it's something I always like to tell people, just a little thought experiment, and it really, really applies in music. So right here, I know Suretsi now. If I'm looking for someone to score a film, there might be 10 guys on the roster, but if I know him, I'm picking him because he's my brethren, right? I don't care who is technically the best, who has the highest grade. I know someone can do the job and I have a relationship with them. And that applies across the board. So the more people you know and build genuine relationships with is the more chance that you're going to be the one called up for the job. And in connecting with people, it's really just like learning how to connect with people. You don't necessarily need to come in on straight business, but even if you find someone's email, you find a contact, just reach out, be respectful, be professional. And a lot of times people will hit you back because they know what it's like to have to go through and build up from scratch as well.
Jumping on what he said about building genuine relationships, always remember the value formula. V equal to J minus P plus G. Plus G, right? Value is equal to jobs minus pain plus gain. If you can, in your relationships, make the jobs that somebody does better, easier, more convenient, save them time, you would have created value. If you have found a way to reduce their pain, you create value. if you understand what they want to gain and help them to get it, you create value. So don't make the relationships all about you just knowing somebody and say that you know them. Create value in your relationships, and you will have an asset there in that relationship.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I must say that I thought that all the panelists were really great. I think you got nuggets of wisdom from everyone, and you really have a sense and an understanding around it. I really think y'all were very, very good. Thank you for making me look good, I hope. I really am thankful. Everybody kept it short and precise and really kept it in line with what we're doing. So now it's your turn. We're turning it over to you for just a few questions. Just have a short time to take a few questions from the audience if we have any.
Yeah. Testing, testing. Hello, I'm Colin. All right, go on. Hello, I'm Bensley Hype. I'm a film producer, actor as well, and yada yada, etc., etc. Can't bother going to the next part. But yes, to you, Chow. Yeah, I'm just hearing about this thing now. So how I have a television show, couple seasons, such and such, and I would love to get it on your platform. So what would be the first thing I need to do to get it, and what are the what's the right word?
How to get in, how to submit.
Yes, submit.
Yes, for
and-
consideration.
and there you go. That's what I'm
Yes,
saying.
so thank you. Like I said, we're looking for content and we're looking for Caribbean content. So now that we're here, I can give you the proper email. So what you would do is email info@the Coda Network. So info@the Coda Network. And I implore when you do send your content, have all the links ready that we can go to it and find it properly. Put your director, your producers, put some of the cast members in there. Just some little information and tidbits so that we can see what's going on, and just a brief summary. It just has to be just a two-liner. We call this the boiler point. So just give me a boiler point of what it is, and our film team will take a look at it and let you know, probably like within 48 hours, somebody, a live person will reach out to you from our content team. Yeah, and yes, and let you know if it's made the platform. And in addition to that, there's also revenue share. So this is why this is so important, is that Coda Network is SVOD, which means subscriber video on demand, and AVOD, which is advertising video on demand. Certain platforms like Tubi and YouTube, they do pay their content providers. So this is what we want to do as well, and this is why it's so important that we get the community involved and the diaspora, because you put so much money into making a short film, and people think, oh, it only costs so much. No, it costs time. There's equity sweat. There's blood, sweat, tears, and we want to be able to provide some sort of revenue share for you guys. So that's the good thing about Coda Network, is that there is a monetary outcome. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
You actually just answered the next part of the question I was going to ask. but
Okay, please.
Ask
All right, so we have a very, very short time. I'm like countdown for 7 minutes. So next question.
Check, check, check. Yeah. Great panel so far. Evening, guys. My name is Yared. I wanted to ask more in a local context, because we were kind of speaking for, in a more broad consumption, but in a local context in terms of like syncing music for media placements, advertising. Like, what does that landscape look like? I mean, it's kind of more of a specific question for Carleen, Tesslated, and Soretse, I guess.
So I think the same applies, in whether it's a huge production or a local production, there's someone in charge of the music, right? And if you get in contact with these people and find out what's happening, you can be a part of it, right? I think especially with local too, people want local artists, people want good quality productions, and it's hard to find a lot of the time. So if you can connect with them, it can be a mutually beneficial relationship where they know they can come to you, your music is getting out there, both of you are getting paid, and everyone's happy.
Okay, what I would add is advertising agencies, production companies like myself, and others. So generally we're doing a commercial and we need music. Sometimes it's original music, sometimes it's a jingle, sometimes it's more of a score. It just depends on what it is. So I would say just at the ground level, the foundation would be literally reaching out to some advertising agencies and production companies that are working on some of these things. Also, if you have relationship with brands or brand managers, that might be something too, because in the commercial space, they may be working on campaigns and things like that. So I think that would be the foundation. Any other questions? Yes, right here.
Check, check. Hi, morning everybody. Morning everybody. My name is Joe Davis and I am, oh, stand up. Okay, morning. My name is Joe Davis and I am a musician and composer myself. My question is for mainly Mr. Small and Tess, but it does apply to everybody if you'd like to chip in. What are some of the key qualities that directors and creative directors would look for in a composer? Because I'm up and coming in the film composing world and I want to know how to, or like what qualities I would need to embody to get my foot in the door. Thank you.
As I was mentioning before, this spirit of collaboration. They don't like to feel like they're being put, under judgment. You know what I mean? Like you want to be there to say, all right, I hear what you're looking for. I'm gonna give it to you. No, here's the trick though. There are some directors who think that they are musicians. And that's tricky. You have to say to them, no, stop. We will create the music, and you're gonna vet it, but I'm gonna listen to what you have to say and give it to you. The other thing is being able to be really professional. Like, musicians generally have this reputation of not being professional, especially in Jamaica. So, like, if you get an email, respond right away. Have your rates ready, have your systems ready, have your contract regarding the project ready right away. That would blow their mind. They're like, what? Who is this guy? Blah, blah, and they get excited, right? They think, I can work with this person. Then, giving them a structure for when they expect it to be completed and being communicative. Because they're working with a whole heap of other stakeholders. And you have to be plying them with information all the time. I have this cue, it'll be ready on this day. I think I can get the final mix done by such and such a day, blah, blah. You have to be able to think in terms of deliverables, have that mindset. It's not so much a creative thing as it is a production workflow to meeting. You have to think of it as slots. Right? There's these time slots and these content slots, and you're hitting that. And if you have that attitude and that approach, they'll relax, and they'll feel very confident in working with you.
And to add on a little bit of the creative side, because that is the key of value, right? Like minimizing the pain point as you discussed before. But from the creative side, sometimes directors or whoever the creative is doesn't really know how to express themselves in music. So for you to be able to communicate emotion, right? Or get them to discuss what emotion are you trying to lead out here so then you can match it. Because it's all about storytelling. So from a creative standpoint, everything is about a certain emotion they're trying to evoke. You need to be on the same page as that creative person that's deciding it.
I just wanted to let you guys know that if you are looking for a career in music production, composing music, internships, if you're able to travel to the United States and land at internships with like a Sony, a Fox Sports, it's just not TV or film. There's so many other places. There's Active Games, there's Mattel, there's Hasbro. I mean, there's so many different ways to skin this cat, but internships, working directly with a director, or even working in a soundstage, yeah.
Any other questions? We have like 2 minutes. A quick one. Yes, no, maybe so.
Hi everyone, my name is Tash Johnson. I'm asking this question on behalf of Black Scorpio Records. So we have been approached various times from Interscope and other entities that want to use some of our music for film. And at times, the approach doesn't seem rational in terms of what they're willing to offer to use our music. My question for you is, what considerations do you make when negotiating sync licensing deals?
Okay, I'll have someone take that and make it very short. That's a good question because I know myself, sometimes people link me and they want to get in touch with certain artists and they want to get the use of their music. That happens a lot, and I reach out to a lot of artists or publishers and stuff on behalf of people. But one thing I do want to note is that sometimes something is a really small independent project, and then sometimes it's something that can really go further. So sometimes we have to be kind of careful about the level, because somebody links you, it's not always Universal presents. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's like University of the West Indies presents. So, you know, that kind of thing is important. But I'll let you guys take it.
I would say if it's a grand opportunity, just say if it's a grand opportunity, look at the equity in the brand awareness rather than the cash value, and base it off of that.
I would say I've done deals from very small to very big. Just look at if it makes sense, and also make sure that if it's a small amount, you're not giving up too much. So for example, for certain small deals, it's like, okay, cool, you can't use the song for 5 years. You can use it for 1 year, for one specific campaign, on one specific format of media. And also, from there's anything on the table, like make sure you just have a good lawyer, because they can also advise really well as to what is a good situation.
Yes, territory, the usage, the duration, and then also the nature of the relationship. Because if you think of your intellectual property as an asset, then you have to look at the lifetime of that asset, right? So it may be a small cash outlay, but it may be a good positioning for future sync licenses. So you have to think about a long-term cash flow marketing strategy in relation to how you manage your library of intellectual capital. So you have to think of it that way.
I think that's an excellent note to end on, if I must say so myself. I think we all have some more understanding, and these panelists were really, really clear on sync and score, and they're here, they're available to chit-chat with you a little more if you have, you know, other questions, because I know there might be some others. So they welcome your questions, but I want to stay on time, so I want to wrap it up and finish within time. And I want to invite everybody, please stay. We have amazing movies coming up. Thank you, IMC. Thank you to our panelists. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thanks.